Hey everybody, I'm Katrina. This is another episode of Kickin Back with Kat podcast, and I have with me podcaster wrestler Tristen Law. How are you doing today?
Hey, Katrina, I'm doing really well. If I knew this was an opportunity for me to kick back, I would have sat in a reclining chair, but I'm not in a reclining chair. I'm in a straight back chair, so I'm going to have good posture for the show. But how are you? And thank you so much for having me on your show.
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a crazy week, but I'm alright.
Good, good, good. Well, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on. So, since you have a podcast, we can talk about that. How long have you been podcasting?
Oh Lord, golly. Okay, so let me tell you. So I first started podcasting. Oh, maybe like in I'm going to just say 4 years ago. I started podcasting 4 years ago, if not five. I remember talking to my friend Brittany, and I said, "Girl, I think I want to do a podcast." And she goes, "Okay, so what do you want to do a podcast about?" And I said, "Everything." And she goes, "Tristan, you can't do that because nobody will watch." She goes, "You'll alienate people. People will come in this week because you are talking about cats. And next week they're coming back because you're talking about fish and they don't like fish because they like cats. So you want to alienate people. You need to narrow it down." So at the time I said, "Oh, you know what? I know what I can talk about. I could talk about politics. I could talk about Donald Trump because I love politics. I like politics because it's interesting, because I like to see what they're really telling us, and I like to fact check before fact checking was a thing."
Yeah.
And I did about 4 episodes of that, and I'm like, I don't really like this at all. I don't like talking about politics, and people trying to prove to me that I'm wrong, but I'm not having any. But either way, so then I got involved with another podcast. It was called Royal Ramble Radio. We were a professional wrestling show where we discussed and dissect the world of professional wrestling. We were live on Facebook Live and YouTube and Twitch. We were live there, and but COVID happened. I started becoming the producer of the show, so I'd come up with the rundown. So I started doing all that stuff. And while I was doing that, my cousin, who was in the adult entertainment industry, she was like a stripper, and she was sex trafficked as well too. She had a really cool story, and I was like, "Oh, this would be a great story for you to tell on to the world." So I started my next podcast. It was an interview podcast, but you know what they always say, Katrina, you don't mix family with business, so that didn't really work out. So we stopped about 3 episodes from there. COVID happened, so Royal Ramble Radio, we decided to take a hiatus, so we are not working together right now. So I decided to take my strengths that everybody kept telling me, "Hey, dude, you can go do your own podcast. You can do your own podcast." And I said, "Okay, well, I was afraid, and I stopped being afraid, and I sat down and decided to come out with the Tristen Law Show." And the Tristen Law Show is where I introduce the listeners to the personalities in and out of the professional wrestling business. And pretty much what that means is that you're not only going to meet the wrestler in the ring, you're going to meet the personality behind the personality. You're going to meet the person that you're not going to meet in the ring. But you're also going to meet as well too. You can meet promoters, you can meet seamstresses, you can meet super fans, or you can meet anybody along those lines that's not in the ring of professional wrestling. So that's the Tristan Law Show.
Oh, nice. So, what would you say? Which podcast would you say you enjoy doing the most?
I liked doing all of them because all of them prepared me for what I had to do with the Tristan Law Show. So, for example, the first episode, the first podcast I did, it was called America versus 45. That was my political podcast because I love politics. So what I did with that podcast was that's the one that where I kind of dabbled my pinky toe in the water to learn how to edit audio and how to submit stuff to Apple and Google and Pandora, Spotify, and all those places. When I did the interview with my cousin, that's the one that set me up so that I was able to learn how to put on an interview style podcast. And Royal Ramble Radio pretty much was, I don't know, that was the crack in the dam that opened up the water and let the water just flood through and flooded the town. Because with there, I learned how to produce. I learned how to properly put together a podcast because where we recorded that podcast or when it was a live radio show, it was in the Connecticut School of Broadcasting in New Jersey. So we would go there, and I would pick people's brains because I'm not a billionaire where I can afford to go to that school. But hey, if you give me 5 seconds of your time, I'll ask you a lot of questions, and I'll take notes on my phone so I can learn something. So
Yeah.
I'd ask questions like, hey, how can I make my audio better in Audition? Oh, you can do this, and that. So I'd go home and I'd clean up my interviews, and it would sound like I'm standing right in front of the person. You wouldn't hear background noise or anything like that. So I learned how to market a podcast better, and I learned how to get everything out there better. So that's pretty much it.
That's cool. Yeah, for me, I think my first podcast, well, podcast I do with her name is Brittany too, but we do under pen names. So we do a podcast. Literally, I was just like, so you want to do a podcast one day for no reason? It was like no thought behind it. Um, and this is now we're on season 3 now with that one. So it's like cool how many people actually listen to that one because I'm like I hate the sound of my voice normally. But like talking to her is just like we're having conversation like if we haven't talked to each other in like 20 years. So it's like always like a good time with her. And I think that helps because we have like dynamic between two of us. So it worked. And like when I started like wrestling, I'm like, okay, let me try to get some wrestling in there. I love wrestling. Let me do wrestling stuff. So here we are. But
The thing with doing podcasting, though, is that it's very flattering and overwhelming how many random people will listen to your product and like tell you that you're doing a great job. Like I have people that are listening internationally to the Tristen Law show, and I'm only up to episode 5 at the time of this recording, and people like it. Like I work so hard on it, and it's just like, wow, like you really like it. Like for me, I feel like I have a duty to everybody that listens to the Tristen Law show to not let them down and to create content that is compelling for them. So one of the things I want to do to not let the people down is because, as you can see with the other previous podcasts, not including Roy Rama Radio, we didn't last that many episodes. So they said that podcasters usually don't go any further than the 7th episode. After the 7th episode, you drop it, it's done, and it's gone. So what I did was, because I was doing an interview style podcast, was I decided, hey, you know what you can do? You can do 2 interviews a week, 3 interviews a week. So right now I have tons of interviews in the can, and I can release about maybe 15, 16 episodes on top of what I got right now, because every single week I'm doing an interview with 2, 3 people because I want to make sure I always have content. And it makes it easy as well too, because you don't have to hustle like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about this week? You already have it. Just pick something and play it. So that's what I like.
that's true. I had to start doing that with this channel because like doing my normal podcast, and then I was part of a wrestling show where we do like wrestling reviews, which got me comfortable with being in front of the camera because I hate being on camera. I'll do background stuff all day, but camera is like fuel. So it got me more prepared to do this, where it's like, okay, now I'm more comfortable. I can do these, and like, I've been trying to keep having them lined up just so I can publish them, and it's just there, and I have to stress like, oh my God, next. So I definitely agree with you on that one. I had to learn that, like, okay, relax, like get it together. So, who you said you have 5 episodes now. So, who would you say is like your favorite episode so far that you've done? Like, you're just like, oh my God, this is a dope episode.
Oh man, so far I've interviewed a referee, DM Stevens. I've interviewed referee DM Stevens. I've interviewed Ariella Nix, who was also on your show as well too. Shout out Ariella if you're watching. I also did Corey Castle. Corey Castle is crazy, and I love that guy. I also did Colin West. He's a promoter for Synergy Pro Wrestling, and I also did a guy named Love Jones. And honestly, I can't. It's like having a child. I can't say that I like one child more than the rest, even though I don't have kids, so I can't really relate. But we're going to relate with podcasts. So there's different parts that I like from each and every single one of them. So for example, I liked doing my first interview, episode 1, with the referee DM Stevens, because one of the things that he likes fish. And like I said, I don't want to talk about pro wrestling. We barely talk about pro wrestling in the show. I want to talk about the personality behind the personality. And I love the fact that I learned different things about goldfish just talking to him. I told him about my pet goldfish that died, and he told me that goldfish are finicky with water. I didn't know that, so that's him. And I talked to Love Jones. Love Jones has an issue with alcohol, and shout out to Love Jones if he's watching. I did take him to his first AA meeting, his Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, because I made a phone call when I saw he was having a hard time. And I said, hey, I have this friend that needs to go into recovery. Can you help me? And they go, yep, bring him to this place. So I like talking to him. There's one spot in the interview where I said to him, I said, "So do you think you'll ever get a DWI again?" And he says, "I don't know." I went, "Wow." So at the end of the interview, after we're done, I said, "Hey, dude, do you want me to keep that?" He goes, "Keep it." I would have deleted it out of his respect, but he said, "Keep
Yeah.
it." But then talking to Ariel and Nix, man, I've been in locker rooms with Ariel and Nix, and I love talking to Ariel and Nix. Ariel is cool. I feel that if that, because her and I are from the same exact borough, represent the Bronx, but I don't live in the Bronx anymore. But like I gave her my quiz for people that are from the Bronx, so you can't tell me that you're from the Bronx without me giving you my quiz. So I gave her my quiz, and she did good, so she's really from the Bronx. But I also talked to in another interview. I talked to Corey Castle. Corey Castle is in a movie with Halle Berry, and he has a
Nice.
Batman short film, and he's an actor, he's a comedian, he's a wrestler, he's a producer, he's a director. He does a lot of cool things. So it's cool getting to learn about what it's like to be in a movie set. But I got some really cool interviews that are waiting in the can that I can't wait for everybody to listen to on the Tristen Law Show.
Nice. Yeah, Ariel is amazing. I've seen her wrestle first in Jersey, I believe. And I was like, oh, she's mad dope. And I always like finding women wrestlers just because, when they kind of hang with the guys and do all the stuff the guys can do, I'm just like, that's so amazing. So she's super laid back and chill. So I was so appreciative that she came to talk to me because, I'm always very grateful for everybody who wants to talk to me. I'm like,
Of course.
small potatoes. Everybody else does.
I agree, because it's like, okay, we're not like these big worldwide names yet, but for somebody deciding to take an opportunity to talk to you, it's like great. But one of the things that we learn at professional wrestling school is that you want to get yourself over. So any opportunity that I can use to talk to somebody to give you 30 seconds of somebody's ear to say, "Hey, I'm a wrestler," that's good time. And that's just the best part about podcasting as well too, is that you find your style and you get to mesh with these people. But when you're talking about women in professional wrestling, I'm so glad that professional wrestling is what it is today with women in it. Because when I got into the indie scene back in 2009 in Jersey and New York, a lot of the lady wrestlers weren't good. There was maybe like a pinch of them that were really good, but they had to fight for spots with everybody else that wanted to sleep with the promoter, and they want to do other nefarious things just to go ahead and get themselves over and not actually focus on their actual in-ring work.
Bless you.
Thanks. I muted myself. Sorry, you could edit that out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's just I wouldn't say I grew up during the Attitude Era, so like for me, it's like to see Lita, China, it's just like, oh, this is so dope. You could do this, like hang with the guys and even better than the guys. And then you now have like Charlotte and Sasha and Bianca, who is just amazing. And it's just like, God, you guys, we obviously there's still more work to be done because
Right.
it's just that like things that could be tuned and fine tuned a bit, but it's still we came a long way as well. So you are a wrestler. So what got you into wrestling? What was that moment for you? You was like, oh, I want to wrestle.
Oh man. So I always wanted to be a wrestler. Always, like as a kid. I'm going to give you the typical answer that every pro wrestler will give you, Katrina. I loved wrestling from the time I was 4 or 5 years old. And I really did. I never forget growing up in Brooklyn with my family, and my grandfather was watching wrestling. My mother hated wrestling. Hated it. And I can hear my mother right now, because she's going to watch it and always say this. She's going to be like, boy, why do you have to tell people I don't like wrestling? Because you don't, Ma. You don't like wrestling. But my mother, my grandmother, and my grandfather, when they first came to America from Jamaica, well, go on, shout out. They love wrestling. That was what they did. That's what they watched. And my mother just wasn't into it. And I remember going into the room being like so like enamored by my grandfather watching wrestling, and I'm like, yo, like, who's this Undertaker guy? Like, he's like so cool. Like, I want to be like that. So I thought at the time you got to go to like college and you got to do like college wrestling and stuff like that. And I was enamored with it. But eventually growing up, I fell out of love with wrestling because when we eventually moved to the Bronx, we didn't have cable. But I never forget the time when cable first came to the Bronx in 1996, 97. It was on a Monday night, and the first show that I watched was Monday Night Raw. I was so hyped to watch that Monday Night Raw. So hyped. I'm like, oh my God, I get to watch wrestling. And, I'm going to go back into another story with my mom as well, too, how we didn't like wrestling, how she didn't like wrestling. I never forget there's an episode of Monday Night Raw where Goldust slapped Marlena. I don't know if you remember that. But
I do.
my mom happened to come in the room at that time. Oh heck no! My mother was like, "Nope, it's not happening. No son of mine will ever hit a woman. You are not watching that darn thing in my house. Cut the TV off." So what I would have to do, and I'm about to tell her myself, Ma. So I know you watching. So what I would have to do is I would have to turn the TV down real low, and I'd put my ear to the TV, and I'd watch the wrestling. And when I hear her open up the room, and when I hear her coming, I cut off the TV and lay in the bed. Just like that. Lay in the bed. So my mom would look in the room and see that nothing's going on. Maybe she going crazy. And then when she would leave, and I would hear her lie down back in her bed, all right, cool. So I'm gonna turn the TV on. TV's down mad low. I'm just watching Raw. And I watched a lot of Monday Night Raw like that. So fast forward, I remember, we had the illegal cable box back in the day. I could shot that out because the illegal cable box ain't a thing no more. And I remember watching like all the pay-per-views. I never forget watching like all the pay-per-views. I loved watching the pay-per-views. Me and my friends used to wrestle in the building. I don't condone people to do backyard wrestling or wrestling in untrained places and spaces, but I used to do that. And then we moved to Florida. We moved to Florida to Orlando. We wanted to be cool, my mother. And what she did was that she decided that we were going to go ahead and get satellite TV. I'm not going to shout out the name because I don't know, maybe they could be a sponsor for you one day. And I tried to watch Raw, but guess what happens? The TV didn't work for a certain time during the day. Like you could watch TV till maybe 9 o'clock, and then wouldn't cut back in until 10 p.m. So from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. you wouldn't watch TV. So I missed a lot of TV. So I remember at that time I started doing a lot more work. I was working at Universal Orlando, right? And at that time I wasn't in love with wrestling anymore because I couldn't keep up with it. And I remember standing at my job, and this guy named Ed comes over to me, who I knew, who was one of my coworkers. He said, "Hey, Tristen, there's wrestling going on in the sound stages at Universal. I think you would like it because you told me you were a wrestling fan." I go, "Nah, man, I'm not too interested in that, man. I got to go home." He goes, "Well, what are you going to do when you go home?" I said, "Man, I'm not going to do nothing when I go home, man. I just got to go home." He goes, "Well, it's right over here in the sound stages. You don't have to go far." "Man, I don't have any money." He goes, "Great, it's free." All right, fine. So I went, and it was TNA. TNA used to be free it was the Impact Zone in Universal Orlando. And the night that I went, it might have been Victory Road 2007. I can't remember. But Macho Man came back. And I was a fan again. I remember standing on the bleachers, girl, yelling like a little mark, okay, like a mark. And I'm still a mark, and I'm proud to be a mark. And I had no voice. Guess what I did the next night on Monday? They used to tape Impact. And my friend wasn't able to go, but I was there. So if you watch a lot of TNA product from 2007 to like maybe like 2003, it might have been 2003, 2004 that I went. But if you watch it up until June of 2007 when I entered wrestling school, we weren't allowed to go. But you can see me standing there front row at a lot of TNA events, a lot fatter and a lot younger.
That's mad dope. I can't wrestle for nothing. I won't try. Anybody who wrestle always say like hands down like super props to you guys because I can't take no bump. I'm not even gonna try to do that to myself. Just like y'all gonna have to like cross over me and wrestle around me while I lay in the ring for a while and just recuperate.
It's funny. So because of this whole COVID thing, I decided to finally get back in the ring because I got a show coming up in October. And I decided, you know what? All right, cool. The school's been open long enough. I haven't heard anybody getting sick or getting COVID. Let me go down there and go do what I got to do. So I go down there, girl. Let me tell you, last night I was taking so many bumps. Like I feel like it's my first. I felt like it's my first day. My neck is sore. My back is sore. My legs are sore from all that. I probably took 100 bumps that night punching out my bump card. I have to say to myself, "Kid, you're not 22 anymore. Like you're acting crazy."
Yeah, it's power to you guys. I really can't just. It's too much for me. I can't. So who would you say is like your favorite wrestler growing up? Like who was that person like you like marked out hard? For me, it was like Shawn Michaels. Like love him, and then Jeff Hardy made my obsession to the point where I kind of had to apologize to my mom as an adult. Like, "Mom, I'm so sorry. I got on your nerves. I'm so sorry because it was bad. The obsession with it was so much that I was like, oh my God, Mom, I'm sorry. I did this to you. Like." My bad.
So I remember about Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy's not one of my favorites when I was growing up. I will get into that. But I remember my mom was younger. When I was younger, my mom got married, and she had like the little veil things that you could wear in your arm, and it was like the Jeff Hardy thing. So I started wearing the veil thing, and I'm like, I'm telling you, like, I'm a wrestling fan. I love wrestling. But growing up, I can probably say that I liked Bret Hart. Bret Hart was everybody's favorite. I liked Shawn Michaels. I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the reason why I got into a lot of trouble in school because I used to give people the middle finger. I'm not condoning kids that you give people the middle finger because that is not nice. I used to love Triple H because I used to love to tell people to suck it. But the three wrestlers, not in a nasty way, just like how let me just leave it alone. But the three wrestlers that I like, when people always ask me what three wrestlers inspired you, it's Triple H, it's Randy Orton, and it's Edge. I take all three of those wrestlers and I embody them into myself. I love watching Triple H's match, and I challenge people, watch a Triple H pay-per-view match from like the Ruthless Aggression era or when he was coming up in the Attitude era. Watch it with the volume down low and just look at how he tells the story with his body. He's slow. He's pacing himself. He doesn't need to jump off the top rope. He doesn't need to do anything crazy like that. He just needs to keep it in the ring and get his opponent over. I like Edge and Randy Orton because they tell stories with their faces. It's all the facials for me. So sometimes when I'm in the ring, most times when I'm in the ring, I'm like, dude, tell the story with your face. Let them see it with your face. And those are the three people: Triple H, Randy Orton, and Edge. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, man, he used to make me give people the middle finger and yeah.
It's funny because I actually used to hate those two wrestlers growing up. Like Edge, Randy, and Triple H just irked my soul so much because they was always messing people I liked. And I'm like, all right, leave them alone, guys. Like, stop making me mad right now. But as an adult, I actually appreciate them so much more. So I was like, you know what? They're like great, especially Randy as heel. It's just a reckon with. Like, I'm just like, he's doing some of his best work right now. And I'm just like, say what you want about Randy. Randy's a damn good heel, and like he would make you be like so mad at him, but then you're like, it's so good, and it kind of hurts your feelings, but it's so good. But as a kid, I hated them. I think I was more of a face person, so I got mad when he was just messing with people.
But the thing too, though, is that once you enter, and I was telling this to a young kid who's 18 and just got into wrestling. He was telling me, hey, since I got into wrestling, I watch wrestling differently. Yes, you watch wrestling no longer as only a fan. You watch it as somebody that's in the business. So I don't care whether Triple H is face or heel. I appreciate him for the work that he does in the ring. Like, so right now, like Brock Lesnar, people hate Brock Lesnar, but I appreciate what Brock Lesnar does for what he does in the business. Like everybody that says that they hate Brock Lesnar, I would love to wrestle on the show with Brock Lesnar. You know why? One reason and one reason only: money, because he's a draw. I'm not as big of a draw as Brock Lesnar, but sure as hell, Brock Lesnar will sell the house out, and I will be there to be the undercard match. I love Brock Lesnar for that. People, when you're not in the wrestling business, none of that matters to you because you're just a fan.
I hate Brock Lesnar. I really,
But
I get that he does
Katrina,
things outside the building. I definitely, especially I heard the story with Dominic Mysterio the other day when he kind of helped him out, like get prepared for the match at SummerSlam. And I was like, I don't like you, but this is really dope that you helped him like get himself together for this match. So I appreciate it, but I just something about him just really irks me. So normally people say they like Brock, and I'm just like, okay, I guess.
Let's try this, Katrina. If you would you pay money to go to an indie show to see somebody kick Brock Lesnar's butt?
To see him get beat up, yes.
There you go.
But I feel like because Brock, that would not happen. I feel like Brock is not allowing anybody to kick his butt. Like, that's not going to happen.
But you know what? You still show up for the dream. You still show up for the dream.
I definitely would see him like when I don't know, like I did respect him in like 2002 and all, but then I'm like 2020 he's nowhere near that level anymore. It's just he's there, and people still think he does like everything. I'm like, he's barely wrestling anymore. He comes there like 6 times a year, and he does suplexes. And Paul Heyman's hell out of it for him, and we are.
So
I don't know.
what's funny, Katrina, is when I used to do the other show, Royal Rama Radio, my host was so upset at Brock Lesnar only wrestling 4 times a year or 5 times a year or having limited dates and saying, oh, he's the WWE champion. He's the Universal champion. And I know you feel like that right now because I'm gonna call you out. You know, oh my God, I'm so mad at Brock Lesnar because Brock Lesnar only works a couple dates per year and he's the WWE champion. He should be there more often, right?
Yeah, I do think they're often.
But you can't hate the player. You need to hate the game. You see, because Brock Lesnar didn't write that contract for himself. Vince McMahon had to sign off on it, and once Vince McMahon signs off on it, he got it. I learned this in business a long time ago. And kiddies, if you're listening, listen up closely. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. And that's what Brock Lesnar negotiated. So Brock Lesnar says, hey, I don't want to leave my house more than 2 times per month. Okay, Brock, well, we really want you, so I guess we're going to have to conform to that. That's the game of negotiation. So if you should be mad at anybody, Katrina, you should actually hate Vince McMahon and Mark Carrano. Hate those two people.
I mean, granted, I did tell somebody this few days ago. It's like, listen, if when it was like he's on AEW, and I was like, Tony would have to do better than what Vince gave him as far as contract. Like, he got paid mad money to barely show up. Like, that's the dream. I don't think you gotta do better than that. Like, oh, you come one time a year, champion, and get paid more money. Maybe go sign with AEW. I was like, I don't see him leaving for the right reason. That Vince kind of gave him a sweet deal. He was like a really sweet deal. I don't like him, but you know,
But
I
I
respect
think too. I think too. If AEW is smart by any ways, means, or whatsoever, Tony Khan, the Khan family, does have more money than Vince McMahon and the Vince McMahon family. You can easily look that up on the internet. If anything, if I was Tony Khan, just shoot your shot, right? There's nothing worse than the shot not shot. Shoot your shot and see what happens with Brock Lesnar, right? Because you could tell Brock Lesnar, hey, well, we only do TV once a week and we do pay-per-views 4 times a year, right? So I'm only asking you to leave your house 16 times per year. Boom. Look at that. Shoot your shot.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know, but I was like, they have to do better than Vince's contract because Brock had a pretty decent contract, like the most people.
Of course.
So, who is somebody you would want as like a dream match for you, or like somebody you want to get outside of Brock? Like, who else would you want to get in a ring with? That's like your match for you.
Not for nothing, and I'm going to sound like a mark. I would love to wrestle Triple H. I want to wrestle Triple H. I want to be able to get myself up to where I can wrestle Triple H at WrestleMania, or even I don't know, and just wrestle Triple H. I think that just me being in the ring alone with somebody like Triple H is going to help me become a better professional wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And Triple H is, if I had a dream match and I can call it, it's Triple H, hands down, hands down. I have wrestled a lot of legends, but Triple H is who I want. Triple H will never come to the Indies, so that means I got to go to him. So Triple H, if you listen, I'm coming for you.
That's right. You better manifestation.
That's right. Speaking to
Put that up
existence.
there.
That's right.
So what is like? I always tell people what I like about wrestling instead of a gimmick is how they finish up the match. So like, how would you? What is your finisher move, and how was that like? Oh, this is gonna be the way I kind of put my mark on my opponent. And everybody knows it's me. This is what I'm about in the ring.
So I'm going to expose the business a little bit, just a little bit, okay? I'm not doing finishing moves anymore. I decided on that in COVID. I'm not doing finishing moves anymore because I like wrestling as a heel. And because I like wrestling as a heel, there's only one way for me to win, and that's for me to cheat. And if the referee doesn't catch it, then I'm the winner. Only way. Grab the tights, maybe pull a stack of dimes out of my trunks and just pepper somebody in the face with it. Hey, but there's no more finishing move from Tristen Law. Finishing moves don't exist anymore. So, hey, you know what? Now that the fans know, maybe y'all could try to smarten up the referees. But you know what? The referee actually has to catch me and that I cheated. If the referee don't catch me, hey, guess what? I am the winner. So every single time, that's going to be my exclamation mark on every match. I'm going to cheat. And I'm going to prove to everybody that cheaters do win.
That's such a stupid statement. Oh my God, Jermaine should be so bad with that. So that's a Jermaine thing. Like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. You don't catch me. Good heel stuff. like it annoys you, but it works. So it can't work. It doesn't work. People won't do it.
That's right. I got to put my foot on the ropes. Hey, look. The referee needs to make sure that his shoot job or the company that he referees for has a good vision plan. Because if he don't see my foot on the ropes, that's not my problem. That's his. That's for him and the other person to deal with it. All right? Because I'm winning by any means necessary.
Respect it. Definitely gotta respect that. I don't agree, but respect it. You know. Let's stay with my feet and stuff. So What would you say is like the hardest thing about like wrestling for you?
For me personally,
Yes.
one of the hardest things, and I try to teach this to all the younger wrestlers when I go down to the wrestling school to help them out. You need to feel. Stop thinking so much and feel. That was an issue for me. I'd go out there and I'd have a whole entire match rehearsed in my head, and I wouldn't feel. I wouldn't listen to the crowd. All I'd be so concerned about is, okay, cool, this is the next spot. So I ran into, and I'll just say this now. There was a time that I hated wrestling legends because legends you could only do so much with them. But knowing what I know now, I would wrestle with legends. So when I came back to wrestling, because I took a hiatus, I said, you know what? I don't want to wrestle any legends. I just want to wrestle young people and help those young people get over and become better wrestlers.
Yeah.
And I got a call from a promoter that said, hey, do you want to wrestle Sam Houston? And I was so thirsty to wrestle when I first got back. I said yes, not even knowing who Sam Houston was. And I Googled it and I was like, oh, Jake the Stink Roberts' brother? And he goes, yes. I said in my mind, damn it. I mean, darn it. I don't know if I can cuss on this show. But I said, okay. But I said, you know what? I already signed up for it and I didn't want to wrestle legends. But you know what? I'm going to do it. So I watched all these videos on Sam Houston. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Back in the 80s and the early 90s, late 70s, that guy could really move. Okay, great. Well, you know what? Let's see what we get when we get to the show. So I get to the show with him, and he's pretty much the same as looks the same as that he looks on the TV that I just watched on the WWE Network. So I do the regular. Hi, sir. My name is Tristen. I'll be the one working with you tonight. So I just want to let you go ahead and do your thing, and then when we're ready, we just get together and talk what we're going to do. All right, kid, no problem. It's a pleasure meeting you. Yep, no problem, sir. So I go sit off in the corner. I go ahead and I get dressed, and then he gets dressed, and I go up to Sam Houston. I say, hey, sir, hope everything is all right. Here's a bottle of water. Hey, anything in particular you want to do in the ring? We'll figure it out. And I'm panicking because I'm so used to going out there and having everything planned and everything dictated, everything blueprinted, that if something falls out, you can't put a piece in to keep going. So right before we go out, we're standing behind the curtain. And I say to Sam Houston, hey, Sam, what do you want to do? The finish is a DDT. So all I know is the finish. Okay, no problem. Let me tell you, Katrina, that is one of the best matches I had in my life. You know why? Because I went out there and I wasn't thinking. I was listening to the crowd. When the crowd liked something, I had him give it more to them. But when they liked it too much, I took it away from them. And I teach that to all the younger wrestlers. So now all the younger wrestlers want to go out there and they're trying to work with me. And they're like, all right, cool. We're going to do a duck one, hurricanrana, plancha into a 450 splash. You're going to cover you, kick on two, watch the super kick, spin me around, give me a suplex. I'm like, whoa, I don't remember any of that. How about we just go out there and call in the ring? So when we go out there in the ring, we just call it. It's more natural. I'm talking to you in the ring just to go ahead and get the match put across. So the hardest thing for me was learning to feel the crowd because I was told that before. But until I went out there with Sam Houston, I really learned how to feel and listen to the crowd and not go out there with the whole entire dictated blueprint.
I like that answer. Like as a person who's watching, like not a person who wrestles, but a person who watches somebody like watch wrestlers, I always like when things look like it's more natural instead of you can tell things are being set up. I like that bothers me because I'm like, even if you're setting it up, I shouldn't see that much time that dictated for you to set it up. Where I'm like, oh, okay, so I now know you're about to do this instead of being surprised by it if that's what you're trying to do. So I really appreciate that answer because that's like one thing that drives me a little bit crazy when sometimes you can just see when the wrestlers just like, okay, here. And I'm like, okay, but like do something that's surprise, like, oh my God, so I can like get up like, oh my God, that happened. And now I'm like super hyped for the match. At least that's how I get when I see something that's like super dope done that I know is going to happen. So I appreciate that answer so much. That's such a,
Like for me, I hate the dive or the tope suicida as people are calling it now these days. Because think about this. And wrestlers, if you're younger wrestlers, if you're watching this, think about this. If it's a real fight, right, Katrina, and you're fighting somebody and you're standing outside of a wrestling ring, I don't know how you got there because you don't wrestle, but you're standing outside of a wrestling ring and you're fighting another person, and that person is going to jump over the top rope on you, what are you going to do?
move.
I'm gonna move and go, oh damn, you all right, bro? Bro, you all right?
I'm not waiting
But
for that. No.
but in pro wrestling, I hate it because some guys watch the people. They're like, they're just watching the people. Like I hate the dive because you shouldn't be watching the person. The dive should come out of nowhere. And I think the dive and the super kick are the two most overused moves in pro wrestling. For that, I don't dive because I probably drop like a ton of lead. And I don't super kick because everybody super kicks on the show. So what? I come out there and I try to be different. When I'm out there in the ring, Katrina, a lot of wrestlers, older wrestlers, the legends will tell me, "Kid, I like you because you're really old school." Because everybody wants to fit that format like New Japan or AEW or NXT. For me, I just want to go out there and entertain the people. Whether you hate me or love me, all I want to do is go out there and entertain you, and I want to give you something different than every other match that you saw tonight.
I definitely agree about this. I'm just like, okay, like Shawn Michaels. I love Shawn Michaels. He's the person that got me into wrestling, but that was his thing. But to have like 25 other people, and I'm just like, so everybody just okay. So you all just super kick. It's not like a special thing anymore. It's like a part of the regular move. And that's a little weird. I do definitely agree that everybody needs to do certain things. If I find a wrestler, I'm like, oh my god, this person is dope. I'll tell everybody just because I'm like, you need to see this person wrestle. Or you need to see why I'm getting like really excited about this. I don't really do that to the level where I get like crazy. Like, oh my god, watch this match, please watch this match. Now I'm gonna be mad enough about it, but watch this match. It has to be the wrestling something that's so like over the top or like just different enough that I'm like, okay, I can see myself supporting you. I can see myself now. I want to watch your matches now. I want to see this live, like that type of thing. So I definitely agree about this because everybody named mom and your cousins and everybody just it needs to stop.
You can actually take this and cut this into a whole entire episode about the super kick. Like you got to look, wrestling fans, think about it. Shawn Michaels and Lance Storm have beaten bigger people than these people getting hit with the super kick today and is kicking out on one. Or the Canadian Destroyer. Oh my God, that's the other one. The Canadian Destroyer. Why are you kicking out of the Canadian Destroyer? I remember when I used to go to Impact in Universal, right? We're going back to Universal when I was working there. And Petey Williams would do the Canadian Destroyer. Girl, you know how many times I missed the Canadian Destroyer because I blinked and it was over. And it was over. One time I was like, oh, he's going to do it. And I was holding my eyes open so I can see Petey Williams do it. And Petey Williams has beat a lot of people with the Canadian Destroyer, but we're using Canadian Destroyer as a transition. And I'm not saying that they should not use it as a transition, but it's how you use it. So if I'm going to hit somebody with a Canadian Destroyer, let me tell you, I ain't going to hit nobody with a Canadian Destroyer. But if I'm going to hit you with a Canadian Destroyer, or if you're going to give me a super kick or something like that, or somebody's going to give me their finish to protect their finish or that move, I'm going to roll to the ropes. So when it's 1-2, I touch the ropes, or I'm going to roll out so I don't kick out of that move because that move is a finish. Boom.
No, I totally understand because I do sometimes. I'm like, all right, guys. So how did you kick out of this? I feel like Johnny Gargano does it a lot in NXT, and I love him. But sometimes I'm like, okay, bro, like you're not gonna tell me you had all this done to you and you still kick it out. Like I'm not getting agitated. Like,
right.
All right, come on, guys. Somebody
you got
now.
you got power bombed and you got curb stomped, but you're kicking out. How are you kicking out? How? What's your pre-workout regimen look like? Let me know.
Right? Let me know. I could probably get some cereal code or something if you do all that too. Like
because you see, like as a fan, and I'm going to speak as a fan, not a wrestler now, and I'm sure that you could probably relate, Katrina. It insults your intelligence to know that somebody got their head stomped in and they're kicking out. How? How? Because if I find somebody in the street right now and stomp their head in, they're not kicking out on 3. They might not kick out.
the ambulance.
Right? Somebody call the ambulance because this guy needs help. If I DDT somebody, that should be a legit finish because I'm dropping you on your head. Those are one of the moves that I try to protect, and I roll to the ropes or something. Or you know what? It's placed in a certain part of the match that when I kick out, man, let me tell you, you almost beat me. But I'm not going to pop up to my feet like, okay, I'm ready to go. because that insults your intelligence
That
as a
does.
wrestling fan because you're like, wait a minute. But yeah, that's just my gripes with pro wrestling. If you want to make a full episode on moves like that, just highlight your boy.
Listen, I mean, that's one of the things I like. I like AEW, and I appreciate that they go after indie people to let people know who they are. Because quite a few people in AEW I got from House of Glory, and I love like the Lucha Bros and LAX before they became Pride and Powerful. Like I love those guys just from House of Glory. So I'm appreciative of getting the indie guys out there so people can know who they are. But then it's
Right.
like there's no way we do 20 finishers. People are still like, come on. And that irritates me. And I'm like, people is like eating it up. And I'm like, so nobody else is irritated by this? Like, that they did all types of stuff and they're still kicking out like well enough that it's not even a slow kick out, it's kind of quick. Like, make me believe you kind of hurt. Like, even if I know it's not real enough, like, I know it's scripted to an extent. Like, obviously, wrestlers still have their bodies in the line. So
Right.
that part is very real. But whatever the outcome of the match is, even if that part is scripted, make me feel like you hurt, bro, please. Like,
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
come on, man.
Like for
Come
me,
on.
nothing's worse than on indie shows or WWE house shows or they call them live events. You have an intermission in between where sometimes you could mingle with the wrestler, and there's nothing that burns me up most than the guy or the gal that had the match right before intermission and they lost. And then right after the match, they go into the curtain to grab their stuff, and they're coming out with their merch. All right, guys, you want to buy my merch? Like, wait a minute, like you were hurt. Like for me, I want to keep the dream alive for you because let me tell you, Katrina, I don't know what you do for your shoot job, but I'm sure for if you had to come out every single weekend, right, just to follow me. Oh my God, Tristen Law is my new favorite wrestler, and I got to be at every show that he's at. For you to come out of your pocket every single week, and for you to travel there, and for you to eat, you could be giving up a half a day's worth of pay for that. Half a day's worth of pay for that. So for me to come out there and disrespect the time that you're spending watching me by letting you know, hey, you know what? It was all a performance. Yes, we know that David Blaine is not pulling the rabbits out of his hat, but I don't want to know that. I know that they're not really cutting woman in half, but I don't want to know that. I want my belief suspended because I respect what somebody has to do for a dollar because I know what I got to do for a dollar when I'm not podcasting and when I'm not wrestling. All right? I'm not saying I do something strange for a little bit of change now. All right? But I'm saying that I go to a job where I got to put up with a boss, and my boss is pretty cool, but his boss is a pain in the behind, and I got to put up with that for a little bit of money every week. So I'm not going to disrespect somebody for that because you know what? That $20, $25 that you're spending on a ticket, food, and transportation, $30, $40, hey, you know what? You got a badass kid, you want to bring them too, so now you're talking about $50, $60 that you're spending? You could have easily took that $50, $60 and gone to a movie and gone to Red Lobster and never had come see Tristen Law or anybody else on the show. So if you ever come see me wrestle, I respect the fact that you took your hard-earned money to come give it to me, and I'm going to give you the best show that you're going to get. Whether you're the only person sitting in the audience or there's 1,000 people or hundreds of thousands of people sitting in the audience, I'm always going to try to give you your money's worth.
I appreciate that. I took my daughter to a show for her first wrestling show
Oh, my
December of
bad. I
last
didn't know you had a
year.
kid. I didn't mean to say badass kid.
Oh, listen, I tell people all the time, I love my kids, but I know people have badass kids, and I don't like people's kids that ain't mine. So, because my kids, I have like the thing, like my kids know, without gonna be embarrassing me outside, you would go get her. Like, I'm like, my mom is really nice now, but I tell them my mom was like very strict. So like, and there was 6 of us. So I wanted to play that. Like, she just give the look at me, just knew, like,
That's it.
don't do it.
Your mom's
Don't
probably
you do
like
it.
my mom. She's soft for her old age now.
Yeah, I'm like, Mom, come on, stop. Like, I'm telling my kids about you, and they think I'm lying. They like, no, she not like that. And I'm like,
My sister Stephanie, she just turned 18 and she's getting ready to go to college right now. Shout out to you, Stephanie. And she's pretty much like, I'm like, yo, if you did half the stuff that I did, or if you did the stuff that you did back in the day, let me tell you, you might be underneath some dirt somewhere. What? Embarrass my mother in public? There's a reason why I don't eat candy and I don't like candy. Because I embarrassed my mother. My mother's not a game. I'm not talking about she jacked me up in public, but I never forget the time. I walked into the supermarket, right? And my mother kept telling me, you don't have any money, so don't ask for anything. So I go, Ma, I want this. I want that. I want this. I want that. So one day, right? One day, my mother goes, yeah, put in the shopping cart. Yeah. Oh, you want this? Yeah. Put in the shopping cart. So Katrina, we get to the shopping at the end, right? I'm putting all my things on the things, and she's putting her things in front. And the cashier goes, is that together? My mother goes, no, that's separate. So when it comes to the thing and the girl scans it, and I guess it's not nice when you really think about it now for the cashier. The girl scans the thing and and she tells me the total. I look at my mother. My mother goes, pull out your money. And I go, I don't have none. My mother said, that's right, let's go. That was my mother. That was my mother. Shout out to her. Shout out to her. That's right, you don't have none. Let's go. Yo.
No, my mom, nah. My mom did not like. She'll just like, don't you ask for nothing. Don't try to do anything outside. So I talk to my kids like, yo, my mom was strict. And like my brother would tell them the same thing, and they go, "No, shit." I'm like, "Mom, you make me like I'm a liar right now because they think you like mad nice," and I'm like, "No, we need."
You're not nice. You're just old, and you're soft in your old age.
Makes me very sad because like now I have to be that mom, and I was like, "Mom, you're right. You was totally right. We just give us the looks. I have to do that with my kids now. Like they'll try to play with me outside. Like don't behave.
Let's see the look. Give us the mom. Give us the mom look.
I'll just be like,
2. Oh damn! Oh,
that's it. Like my kids are pretty decent, like good kids. I always like my kids are not as bad as some kids, but I don't like other people's kids because sometimes I just don't know. Parents sometimes their kids be a whole hot mess. So I'm like no, I'm not gonna be y'all. You ain't gonna be those kids acting crazy outside and be somebody's video about yeah, I took my daughter to her first restaurant through House of Glory in December. And she was a little annoyed. I forgot who the wrestler was, but like he lost, and then he would do it like right after the ring, like 5 minutes later he was stressed. So she looked at me and said, "Mom, did he?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know what to say." And I'm like, "Well, I guess maybe he like likes water and like fresh. I don't know, but I didn't really know what to say in that very short chat because it was like I knew that this happened time, but this is our first show, so I was just like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to ask be rude, like, oh, bro, what happened? Like, how you herself and stuff. But she definitely did do that, and that was her first show. So I agree that could be a problem.
At Universal and Disney, there's a reason why you don't see Minnie Mouse or Mickey Mouse or whoever walking around without the head on. Yes, we know that Optimus Prime is not a real thing. But when you take your kids to that event, let them suspend disbelief. Imagine if you saw, you went to the mall for Christmas time to go see Santa, but right at, Santa's on break out back, smoking cigarettes, rolling dice in the back. Like, come on. Who am I to ruin Christmas for your child? I'm there to put on the show for you for every single second that you see me till the time that you don't see me. Because one of the things that I think in my mind, this is my mentality, is if you as a fan see me as a regular person, it's hard for you to ever see me again as a wrestler. So if you ever come to a show, hit me up on Twitter, let me know that you're coming. I'll come out and I'll say hi. But anything other than that, you're not going to catch me mingling around with everybody out there. Hey, how's it going? How was the match? Did you have a good time? Like, I don't care if you had a good time, okay? Because I'm the bad guy, all right? I don't care if you had a good time, all right? And people always have these boo Tristen signs or Tristen Law suck signs. So you know what? I hope they ball it up and put it in their mouths and choke on it. That's how I really feel about the people.
I respect people stuff. To an extent. Because I see some craziness where like some people like spit at kids. I was like, whoa.
They did what?
Like there was some video where the kid was like saying hi or something, and the guy spit at this kid, and like the dad got upset. And I'm like, yeah, that would be me.
Yeah.
Like you could be a heel and be like, sissy to the kid. I'll come to my kid later, like it's not like the end of the world. I hurt, but don't spit at my kid. I was like,
I don't condone that. Because if anybody spits on me, if you launch your body fluids at me unwantingly, there is going to be fisticuffs. There will be furniture.
I was like, I'm low, but I would fight. It's like we fight it out. Like you would fight.
It's not even about the winning or losing. It's for the fact that you disrespected me, and we gonna have to fight now. You see, all this is probably just gonna. All this what we're doing is gonna make like the extra reel. Let's make it like an extra reel of all this, like the extra stuff that they missed.
Listen, I respect your work. I feel like when the kids like, you be rude, but don't be overly rude to kids. Adults can take it. Like little kids really be like heartbroken. Like, wait, what happened? And it's hard to explain for kids. Like my older daughter. So she
Right.
understood to the extent. But
Right.
like if that was my son, he would probably like have to like cry and fit and so well now I gotta mom now. Trying to make this better because this guy was being too much in character. I gotta now fix this for you. So what is so you podcast, you wrestle. So what are things you do that's not like podcasting that's not wrestling? What are things you like to do that's not in those
Don't laugh at me, all right?
two?
So what I do is I play video games. That's not the joke part. But what I do is I like to play simulation games.
Uh-huh.
So I like to play like Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and I'm so upset it's not available for the Xbox One yet. And I like to play this game called Train Sim World. So I like to play that game, and there's this other game I like to play called City Skylines, where I pretty much build cities. Yeah, that's boring, right? But what I also do is, yeah, I watch YouTube. I love watching YouTube. Hey, shout out to YouTube because we're on YouTube right now. What I like to do is go on YouTube, and there's a lot of content that you could find on YouTube. And sometimes at the end of the day, I go, hey, I want to see how much trouble Donald Trump got in today. And I go to YouTube and just watch all the stuff. I'm like, wow, golly, guy can't even help himself. Or, I'll watch videos that, like, for me, I'm just a nerd. Okay, so you're about to make me expose myself right now, right? We're talking about now you're getting the personality behind the personality. So like I like educational things that are going to enrich my mind. Like I don't want to watch videos that are going to like, if I feel like I can't get something from the video, I'm not going to watch it. And I hope that whoever's watching this video right now, I hope that you get something from it. So that's why I try to make sure that I give you some information that you could say, "Oh wow, I didn't know that." Or I didn't know that about him. So that's my whole thing is I want to get something. So I'm watching videos on history or I'm watching videos on like, how business works. I like to trade stocks. I got that AMC theater stock right, and that stock is really good, really good. I got the Sirius XM stock. I'm getting ready to sell it, but I'm waiting for it to make a couple more cents so I can sell it and get out of that stock altogether. I did get a dividend from that stock most recently, but those are the corny things that I do. I like to eat. Oh my God, girl, I love food. I love food. Let me tell you, like I used to be a body guy back in the day, but I just have it in my mind that I'm not going to be a body guy. I just want to be a shirt guy for the rest of my life. And you know what? I can still proudly walk around without my shirt because you know what? It shows that I got money and it shows that I can eat. Girl, I love me some food. Like, hold on. My mouth watering because the first thing that came to my mind is that they got this Jamaican spot about 15 minutes away from my house. And let me tell you, man, they beef patties is good. They beef patties is good. Let me tell you, for my Jamaican people out there, it just mash up your mouth. I'm telling you, I just love it. It is so good, and I love me like some oxtail. I love chicken wings. Ooh, I love White Castle burgers. I love White Castle
I
burgers.
do too. I love chicken and also.
I
And
think I think I like White Castle burgers. My mother told me when she was pregnant with me, she used to crave White Castle burgers.
I think that's a real thing because like when I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, for some reason I couldn't keep food down, but I could keep Chinese food down, which is so weird. So like she really does like Chinese food a lot, and I'm just like, is this a thing? Because I really couldn't keep food down like for nothing, but I kept that down, no problem. But everything else would come right back up. So that might be a thing.
Girl, I would jack up a crave case. What? You don't even know
So
me.
did you like people say murder burgers? Do they happen to you? Because that's never happened to me. Like I've never gotten sick eating White Castle.
It don't
I'm
happen
like,
to
am
me
I
at all.
odd?
It don't happen to me at all. Murder burgers, I don't know. Hey, shout out to White Castle. I love me some White Castle. White Castle do nothing to me but make me be like, hold on. My mouth was watering. White Castle made me feel like, man, I gotta eat white. And I'm so mad because my nearest White Castle is 40 minutes south of me, 45 minutes south of me in Rockland County, close to the Palisades Mall. And girl, after this, you keep playing, I'm gonna go get in the car and I'm gonna get some White Castle burgers. That's what I'm fitting to do right now. But I love food. Those are the things that I love. I love food. Like one of the things I would love to do, what I like about wrestling is that I get to go to these different places and I get to try different food. Like I never forget when me and my friends used to go down to West Virginia and wrestle. And one morning, we went to a diner. We used to wrestle for NWA Mountainside, whatever. And we went to a diner, and I ordered the eggs scrambled with cheese, American. That's how I love it. And I didn't want home fries, so the lady goes, "Would you like tomato instead?" That's me trying to be a West Virginia accent. "Would you like tomato?" And I go, like, yeah, like, what do you do to it? We sauce it. Okay, cool. So because of that, when I go to the diner, I get eggs scrambled with a meat, and I will get sliced tomatoes on the side. That was something that I learned from there. I love going to places to eat. Oh my God. So one of the things I would love to do, what I would really love to do is make not a podcast, make a YouTube channel just about food. Hey everybody, I'm Tristen Law and you get to eat with the law. Come on with me because today we're going to try cheesesteaks. And I would just love that. I love food. I love food. I love it. Like I should be 5,000 pounds. Like, no offense to anybody that's 5,000 pounds, but I should be one of those people on TLC that you got to cut me out of the house to get me out of the house. That's me. That's me. I live up here. I'm 5,000 pounds up here because I love food. Let me tell you, when I eat the first meal, I'm like, that was good. I want to eat for lunch now. I want to eat for dinner. You know what I mean?
Like, she's not even like she's very. She's like. I mean, she's bigger than me because I'm very small, but she's not like fat or anything. It's like, how are you always hungry? Like, if you just eat, how is food? Like, what's happening right now? But I'm like that with potatoes. Like, it's bad. I feel like if I ever die from food problems, it's gonna be potatoes and bread. Like, I'm gonna just want to eat that one piece of bread one day. That's really good. That biscuit. And I'm gonna probably choke on it and die. But it's fine.
I'm talking about the Popeyes biscuits, because them Popeyes, how the kids say? Oh, them Popeyes biscuits be slap. They slap, slapping, whatever. Man, they busting, whatever. I love them Popeyes biscuits.
Listen, I love bread. It's bad. Like all types of bread. Like I will probably eat it in any form. Potatoes, same thing. Like I'm like, oh, there's mashed potatoes. Okay, oh, there's French fries. It's so bad. But like that's gonna kill me one day. It's fine though because that and like strawberry cheesecake. It's bad. My obsession with strawberry cheesecake. Like really, right before I had this interview, I went all the way to Brooklyn to my favorite bakery that has fresh cheesecake, and I bought like 2 boxes of cheesecake. So it'll probably be gone about like 4 days, but it's fine.
Yeah. For me, when I go to Sam's Club, right, and I always have to make sure because I don't want to say a foodie, right? I'm so greedy that what I do is that when I go to the super, if I go to Sam's Club, they got this little like plastic container with little pieces of like flavored cheesecake in it. Oh my God, love it. Hold on. Mouth is watering again. And what I would do is I go right, when I come in, I bust that hard right, and I beeline to the bakery, and I bust the thing open. And while I'm shopping, I'm eating it. And when I come to the end, all I got to do is pay for it and throw it away. I done ate while I'm shopping. That's greediness. Who does that? I do that. I love food. I used to do that with grapes. Definitely with grapes. I hate when people do that with the grapes because you know what?
I'll buy it.
When you got to weigh it, it's a different weight. Nah, you can't do it. It's not set price. Unless you want to stand on the scale.
I'll be like, listen, just like do whatever, but I did eat some. Like whatever the cost is, it's fine. I did eat some grapes, especially when they're fresh. You just hold it to the water and then just like, okay, I'm gonna eat a couple of grapes. I know I shoot it, but it's like there. And I'm just like, I love fresh fruit. Like nothing like fresh fruit.
I'm gonna stop you from doing that right now. You ready? Think about the last person that put their head in the bag before you ate that.
That's true.
Never again. See,
I'm sad.
That being the darn grapes. But the little cheesecake things though, in the package, it's already in the package. Let me tell you, what? Especially the cheesecake that's already cut. I'd be sitting there and I bust the thing open. I would just whip my hand like eating a piece of cheese. I'm a savage. I love food. I love going on food adventures. I like traveling for food. That's why I feel like, man, if I blow up from this podcast, which I feel like I'm starting on a blow up from the Tristen Law show, or somebody out there is watching this, like, yo, let's take this guy and give him a food channel. I want a food channel. I want to be Man versus Food. I want to be Guy Ferreri's, Tristen Law's diners, dives, and drive-in. That's what I want to do. That's what I was born to do, was entertain people and eat.
Listen, I watch a lot of food channels too. Like it's I forgot which show I was watching. But it was like people would go to different places, like background of certain foods. So I know what's with this fried chicken one, and I was annoyed because there was people talking about it, and I was just like, listen, guys, like, not saying you can't appreciate fried chicken, but like to hear the history of it from a white person, I was just like, now I can't take it seriously. Like, especially when I went to a place in China, it was just like, I was like, all right, sis, you're not gonna tell me you know more than Chinese people about this dish. Like, I'm not gonna believe you know more than people who cook this every day. Why are you telling the story? If you're translating, that's one thing, but you're sitting here telling the story like you more, and I gotta know. So I was just like, no, sis. You don't know more than these people. You don't know more than these people who cook this every day and this they do. But I definitely agree. I don't cook food as much, but I definitely like watching like food stuff.
I watch it. I call it food porn. I love watching food porn. I love it. That's in my mouth. So there's this one YouTube channel that I was watching, and it was about a guy who. So to give you a little bit of background, when you are Jamaican, when both your parents are Jamaican, or both your grandparents are Jamaican, you can file for citizenship in Jamaica, and you can go different places. So part of his YouTube channel was that he's like me, both his parents were Jamaican, so he was able to file for citizenship, and he went to Jamaica for the first time. But on the backhand, he also went to Japan, and they got this Japanese place in China. I mean, this Japanese restaurant in Japan, not in China, because they're two separate countries. And they make Jamaican food, and I follow them on Instagram, and I messaged the woman, "Hey, I want to come to Japan one day, and I want to try your food because I grew up on that oxtail and curry goat and all that stuff. So I want to see how you make it." Mouse watering again. Can we stop talking about food? My mouth's watering. Huh.
My bad. My bad. So you said you're a gamer. So I'm a newbie gamer. So like I played games and I stopped playing games and then I played games again with people I dated or friends who had like Xbox. I'm a PlayStation person. Just loyalty. My
Mhm.
girlfriend used to work for Sony. He used to give us like all these hookups on like systems and movies and shit. So we used to always have things before everybody else had them, which was always super cool. Like, oh, I played this game already before you had it.
Mhm.
But I just got back into gaming, but I like horror games, like things that I can like shoot things
Same.
and like I love horror. Like Resident Evil is like amazing to me because I'm like people who gotta play it like lights on. I'm like stop being scared, man.
Is there a game that you recently played that came out for PlayStation that's a horror game? It's the second part of a game. If you
I
have not,
haven't finished The Last of Us 2.
oh, that game is
I have
amazing.
to, yes, I gotta finish one. Like I honestly I got bored during COVID. I was like, you know what, let me go play PS4. That was literally the reason. I was like, I'm bored, I need to kill some time, let me buy PS4. So that was the first game I bought. But because I was playing several games at the same time, I gotta remember what was the Switch.
Right.
Oh my god, this is the wrong button for this game. You gotta return it. The last time I played, I think died like 3 times. I got annoyed. I was like, all right, so I'm coming back to you tomorrow, and now that's like 2 months.
So
I
for
gotta
me,
get
I started playing, and I just want to I just want to know everybody right now that's kicking back with cat interest that I don't want to perpetrate a fraud because I'm not a gamer. I just enjoy video games. I'm not a gamer. I can't go. I don't play Street Fighter because somebody gonna beat me. I don't play Mortal Kombat because somebody gonna beat. I don't play Madden because somebody gonna beat me. I don't play those games. I play like the nerd games. But Last of Us. So I got a PlayStation 4, and I was using my PlayStation 4 as a party console. So like if I go to somebody's house and I pull up, man, we're gonna have a grand old time on the PlayStation 4 because I got Uno. And I'm such an Uno fanatic. I walk around with a deck of Uno cards in my fanny pack, ready. So anytime you see me and you want it, just let me know. Just say, hey, I want that smoke.
I'll have to call my friend. She's the person you can't play with because she's mad at you, dude. She starts flipping shit and
And
like
she's all right. She gonna flip because I'm gonna bust that behind.
you always like we always tell her Tiger that we was like this is you. This is totally you in every game. You get like so upset when you don't win. It's bad. She like it's a joke with us. She really don't like take losing ball.
So in the beginning of the quarantine, I'm just like, all right, well, you know what? I'm bored. There's nothing to do. So I said, you know what? Let me get that PlayStation now because my PlayStation was really basic. I don't have the now. I didn't have the now, and I didn't have the plus, so I can play with other people. And went ahead and I got the now because you can get other games and it's like $10 a month or $50, $60 a year, whatever it is. So I said, let me go ahead and spend the money for it. And I was looking through games and I saw the game The Last of Us and I played that game and I fell in love with that game. I'm like, that game, it has such a great story. I played a game and this is how you know I'm not a gamer, all right? Because I play the game on the easiest settings because I just want to experience the story. I don't want too much difficulties. I just want to experience the story for what it is. And that story is so amazing that by the time I was done on the PlayStation Now, they had a second part that you can play that told the backstory to the first game. So I played that. It was maybe 2 or 3 hours long. And I played that and I was like, golly, I can't get enough. So I went to the Google machine and I typed in Last of Us. I typed in Last of Us sequel. And sure enough, only a couple weeks away, Last of Us 2 was coming out. So I went ahead and I made the pre-order and I played that game. The second game is really long if you haven't played it yet. But a lot of people are upset with that game because they didn't get what they want. And they sound like wrestling fans. Well, I didn't get what I want because, you know what? Sometimes the good guys don't win. Sometimes. And I'm not saying that in The Last of Us 2 because I'm not trying to blow the finish for you. But The Last of Us 2 is a great game, and I recommend it. Right now, I'm actually playing Watch Dogs. It's available on the PlayStation now. I'm playing that, so that's what I'm doing. You want to add me on PlayStation? Hey, Law LAW0830. Add me. I don't have the PlayStation Plus to play with people, but I can see what games you playing. Oh, and I play Jeopardy. I love Jeopardy.
Nice.
I want to get on the game show Jeopardy, but I'm not smart enough. Like I've always taken the quiz and I've never like done well on it. But I could sit there and watch Jeopardy and get all the answers right.
That's my mom. Like my mom is actually very smart. I also think she's the smartest person I know. And not that I can't meet smart people because she's someone who likes to learn stuff. If she doesn't learn, she's gonna learn it. So like she would just randomly say stuff, and I'm like, where did that come from? And she's like, oh yeah, I just read about it a couple of days ago, and I'm just like, okay. So she actually did very well in the quiz. I'm not sure how it works for them to call people on the show. She's been trying to get on for years because I actually think she like wins. Because normally I can just like listen to her watching it, and she was just like saying it, and I'm just like, I would have to think a little harder. Like I consider myself smart, but not that smart. Or I'm like, I know it. Wheel of Fortune though.
Real
That's my
Fortune's dumb easy. Dumb easy.
yeah, I feel like I had to stop watching with my friends to get mad at me. Like I would like get like 2 letters and then I knew the word, and they was like, "Can you stop doing that?" And I'm like, "But it ain't my fault. You didn't know the word." I tell you, I know a lot of words for clever readers. I know a lot of words.
Let me tell you the trick with Jeopardy, right? Jeopardy's really easy. Let me tell you how. When you're playing Jeopardy, what are you giving? Are you giving the answer or are you giving the question? Which one are you giving?
The question.
You're giving the question, which is why you always have to form it in the form of a question. So sometimes I could read through it real quick. I look at the question and I read through it, and I could find a plot in my brain that goes, okay, president in 1963. It's either LBJ or John F. Kennedy. So it's usually a guess 75% of the times, and I guess right. They'll ask you a question, and the answer is in the answer. You just have to give it to them in the form of a question. If you could pick out the clues really quickly, then you got that money.
Yeah, my mom needs to get on her. She's like not smart for no reason. It's crazy. Like I was like, she was with the teachers just teach me. So when I knew it, they like, how do you know? I was like, my mom. Like my mom would always do some stuff just because, and I'm very appreciative about that. Because I'm like, listen, we do a lot of stuff because of you, and I'm not in school.
Shout out to your mom. Kicking back with mom.
So outside of gaming and outside of food, because food is good. And you say you don't talk about food anymore. Literally, like you have like favorite movie genres. Like I would watch movies all day if I could. I don't need October. I watch it all year round all the time. Like a crazy person. Watch people get hacked up and people get haunted, and I'm just like, this is amazing, guys. What are you talking about? So who? It's amazing because it's not me. Like if it's personally, if this was me, that's when the fun would end. And I'm like, okay, no, we don't need this. Happening some random person I don't know. I'm cool. I'll watch it all day. So what would you say is like your favorite movie genre?
Okay, so I want to start to preface this. My favorite movie, if I had to pick a movie, I couldn't pick one. So I'm going to pick my 3 favorite movies of all time. The Back to the Future trilogy, okay? The Ghostbusters, all the movies, including the one with the woman. Because for me, even though people hated that movie, I think people really, at the end of the day, hated that Ghostbusters movie because it had 4 women in there. And I'm all for the empowerment of women because a strong woman raised me. And the other movie I like is Coming to America. She's your... I'm not going to do it because I don't want you to edit that out. But I can't wait for the second one to come out. Those are my 3 favorite movies. I could sit here, girl, and talk to you about Ghostbusters, Coming to America, and Back to the Future all day, right? 1.21 gigawatts, the flux capacitor is what makes time travel possible. Anyway, but the movies that I like, right? I like watching horror movies as well, too. But you don't want to watch no horror movie with me, girl, because I am proud, and you can see that on my Instagram and Twitter, at The Real Big Tris. I am a proud AMC A-list member, all right? So I spend that extra 20 some odd dollars per month to where I can go in there and watch all the movies. And girl, I would sit down there and just watch a movie, and I'll see some great movies. But if it's a horror movie, you don't want to watch that with me because I'll be the one yelling at the TV, run, don't go in there, don't go in there. Oh, you stupid as hell. And people are looking at me, shh, sorry. I like that, and I like thriller and suspense movies because that's why I like The Last of Us, the video game that we were talking about, because it's suspenseful. And it makes me guess, and I like those movies where I can't guess how the outcome is going to be. But when I guess what the outcome is, and then I'm just like, all right, let's see if this really plays out. And I'm like, oh man, I was wrong. Or, yeah, it was right from the beginning. I like those kind of movies. I like the whodunit movies because I want to find out, you know what? Let's go in this on this together. But those are the kind of movies that I like.
Cool. So how do you feel about Knives Out? Because that was like a whodunit movie, and I was pleasantly surprised with it because I really
Which
wasn't
movie?
sure. Knives Out.
Which one was that? Was that one where they did the dinner party and no, that was another game. That was about no, the one
I
where
think the one that everybody's Clue.
oh, how do I feel about that? The original movie Clue?
Well, no, well, Knives Out. I know it had Jamie Lee Curtis in it. It had Chris Evans.
So you want to hear the funny story with that movie? So I was supposed to go see that movie, right? I bought the ticket. I bought the ticket from because AMC Stubs. You get 3 movies a week, right? A-list plus Stubs, whatever. So I paid my money and I went ahead and I burnt my movie for the week. And right as I was walking out of the real estate office, because I'm also a real estate agent in the state of New York. Hey, if you need a house, give me a call. People at 845-393-0333. Call me. Holla at your boy. But anyway, so right as I'm walking out the office, right, a guy's like, hey, I don't have a real estate agent, but I have some questions about a house. I sat down with him for 2 hours and never watched that movie.
I actually watched it during the quarantine, and I actually really enjoyed it. My mom was like, "Okay, watch it." I'm like, I don't know if they ruined it. It actually was very, very well. And even though I did guess who did it right away, but I also think it's the writer thing. I feel like now as a writer, I pick up too many things to notice people. Because I'm like, oh my God, I knew this was going to happen. And it's just writer brain. It's hard to turn it off sometimes. Because it's like writers do certain tricks to kind of like get a person to keep keeping or get a person to keep watching something. So I'm like, now I have to fight when I watch Big Friends because I usually right, and then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mess it up now, but it's just like writer brain is like, I would do this situation. I would do this too. It's kind of hard to turn that off.
Because I hate it when they be falling down. I'm like, girl, you better stop falling down. You better get up and run. You know what? Kill him because you deserve to die. I was looking it up right now because I want to recommend another movie to you. When it comes to movies, I don't know if you're an AMC list Stubs member that you pay the extra $20 a month, but it's worth its weight in gold because if you live in New York, like for me, I still live in New York, but I live about an hour away from New York City, but I want to go to the AMC Empire 25 in Times Square. And all the movies there are like $25 movies because you can sit in a chair with movie speakers next to your head and all this other crazy stuff. But with the Stubs, shout out to AMC. You should get a sponsorship for this. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about, man, for $25 a month or whatever I pay per month, $23, I can go to this movie theater and watch 3 movies in a day and burn all my movies for the week. But one of the movies I want to recommend for you is The Hunt. If you've never seen that movie's really good.
It is.
Yep, that movie's really good. And Just Mercy, girl, you want to cry? You want to cry?
I cry so easily, though.
You know what? In my old age, man, I cry for everything. I'd be so mad at myself because I'd be sitting there. I'm like, man, like real shit. I don't cry for shit. And I got tears coming down.
Like my dog on, and here you go make me cry.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to find that other movie. What's that? What is it? Hustle and Flow? Not Hustle and Flow. The movie, Queen and Slim. Girl, man, I had to run up out of that movie early because everybody was walking out and I was still boo-hooing. I had to run out that movie. I'm Tristen Law. You're gonna catch me crying in public. Put that picture on Twitter and tag me at the Real Big Tris, talking about you caught me balling in public. Nah, that's not me. I'm not the one.
Oh no, I cry like everywhere, everything hot. Like I'm like, listen, I cry so easily that I'll probably like happy about something and I'm crying. I'm like mad, I'm crying. Like 10 minutes into the last of us, I was like, what the hell? I'm crying, and then people would laugh. I'm like, guys, I'm crying 10 minutes into this. Why not? This is so sad. I was so upset. I was like, I'm not crying. Nobody told me I was crying 10 minutes. Literally 10 minutes. I had the applause. Like, guys, I'm bawling right now. It's 30 minutes to keep playing. I was like, what is wrong with me? Right? Why? It was bad. I was killing me and everything. I was going to magically not happen. Whatever life was. And it was going to change because I was crying. It's bad. I cried.
But that's me in my old age now because I just had my birthday a couple of days ago. So I'm half 30. Thank you. Shout out to you. Thank you for that. I'm half 30. So I'm either 25 or 35. That's for everybody else out there to figure out. But, like in this age, I'll just be like, I be crying for nothing now. Like I'll be watching a movie or I'll be watching TV and I'm like, be tough. And tears just be coming out like, Nah, and I hate when I be crying and people be looking at me. They go, "Oh, yo, you don't look like you cry." I'm not a cry. I'm not crying. Leave me alone. I don't cry.
Oh no, I think everybody knows I cry about everything bad. And yet I still watch the ID show with shit that's mad sad, and I'm still like, I'm gonna still watch it though. I'm probably gonna cry at some point, even though I like obsessively watch the ID show.
All
Really,
right, so
everybody's.
I'm gonna give you this, right? Even though it's your show, I'm gonna ask you a question. All right. All right. So this is now kicking back with Tris. In the past 12 months, what's the best movie that you've seen in your opinion? I'm not going to kill you because it's your opinion. I don't care where you've seen it, whether it's Netflix, Hulu, or you dusted off the VCR and put a VHS in there. What's the best movie that you've seen in the last 12 months in your opinion?
Oh man, I see so many movies in the last few months of quarantine. I feel like I've watched everything. I really did like. I did like The Invisible Man.
Didn't see that
Uh,
one.
Yeah, I liked the spin on it. I wasn't sure what they were going to do with it when I saw the previews, but I watched it and this is okay. It was nice spin. I really did like that, and I always go back to the classics. So like, I would put on 100 top second because that's one of my favorite paranormal movies. Just I always feel like paranormal, like you can't really see the things, so it's like that's more scary than like the guy with a knife. Like, well, you can put that guy down and something, but
Right.
something you really can't see. It's like how do you get out of something you can't see? So. I always like that's like my go-to, and I do constantly watch the Harry Potter movies like times this year, but I'm also a very big Harry Potter fan. Like Harry Potter is like Hogwarts all day, my house off. Even though I want to be Gryffindor, but apparently that's not easy. I'm very nice currently at Gryffindor, but
Fun fact:
I'm
I've
a
never
really
seen Harry
Harry
Potter. Don't judge me.
No, I watched Harry Potter the whole good 8 times
Mm.
in the last 6 months, and there's like movies, so like that's how you feel it's constantly dedicated.
So one of the movies that I watched that I think I liked in the past couple months, and it was a lot, and I like Hustlers, the one with Cardi B and J-Lo, because I'm all about for the empowerment and the betterment of women and women being standing up and fighting on their own and showing men that they can do whatever it is that they want to do, and they don't need a man to do it. And I really like that movie because, man, let me tell you, they robbed them dudes blind. Speaking of Cardi B, I just listened to WAP today. I didn't know what WAP stand for. I listened to it today, and I was like, yo, really? Yeah, yo, like. Thank God my mother lived in Florida. Because if my mother was in the car with me listening to that, I would have to crash the car. I would have to crash the car just so she. What? I can hear. Boy, what is this you played on the radio? I want to text my mother right now and tell her, do not let Stephanie listen to WAP. I ain't gonna tell you what WAP stand for because I had to Google. I learned what WAP stand for, and I even watched the video today. The video's even worse. Don't watch the video either. If you don't want to learn about WAP.
Yeah, I did see the video. I felt like I had an idea who was on the song, but then I had to confirm. Okay, it's what I thought. But we all had songs like that in generation. I'm like, we're gonna act like Uncle Luke didn't have Jude Brown. Like, come on.
No,
That
as a
song was
Christian,
so
I
inappropriate.
never listened to that song. I don't know about no Duda Brown. Right, I'm lying. I know all about that Duda Brown. All right.
Listen, like every generation had that one song that you're like, it's probably inappropriate.
Oh, for real.
You knew what it was.
I was singing the other day, TLC Turn On the Red Light, all right? And I was singing that song at work because it was on somebody played it on their phone on the speakers at work. And I was telling somebody, when I was a kid singing that song, I was probably like 7 or 8 years old singing that song, talking about give me the best, give me the soul, if you want it tonight. I don't know what I wanted tonight, and I don't know what she was giving tonight, but I sang the hell up out of that song.
There's quite a few songs I probably should not have been singing.
Right, because of the words in it. It's no innuendo. It's straight up. This is what it is.
Exactly.
It's a little bit of WAP.
But I think last night, I was talking to my other podcast co-host about this. I was like, you sing this song so hard, and like they literally talked about all types of things we were singing about that night. You knew nothing about that, but we were singing so hard with feeling. And I'm like, you guys never complain about this. Like every generation got that one or two songs. Like, is this appropriate? Probably not, but whatever.
I'm sure they had that same problem with Elvis. I'm sure. Elvis, imagine Elvis now talking about, oh, you know about that WAP, Cardi B? Oh, WAP. Am I saying it right? WAP?
I think it's
Okay, what happened?
Listen, I don't. I'm feeling really old right now. I'm not even at.
You right?
I used to love like I look up for Google. I'm like, oh, I'm getting old. I don't even know what the stuff is anymore. It's sad. I used to laugh at my mom like, oh, mom, you know this. And now it's
Exactly.
like my kids. Like, oh, and I'm like, you know what?
Exactly.
No, some him.
Exactly. You know what? Hold on. WAP, I don't know what WAP is, but I'm going to Google it real quick because y'all kids ain't going to be smarter than me. WAP, oh, Lord Jesus. You go to church Sunday. You go to church.
No, I don't. I try to keep my kids like old school business anyway, but they're like, y'all better not be saying anything I should say.
That's right.
And I want the lives don't need to be lost, you know.
You know, I'd be so embarrassed with my podcast because sometimes I'd be cussing. I'm like, man, I don't think my mom even know that I cuss. Hey, Ma, if you listening, I only know like one cuss word. That's it. I don't know all of them. I don't know the other
That's
ones.
true. Because like my writing is they're at romance, so sometimes there's like scenes. And like I did write one time like an erotica story, which was a lot of, and I was like, Mom, you're definitely not gonna read this book. Like obviously I have kids, so I know something about that, but you don't need to know me in that way. Because it was just like I was like, oh, Mom, no, it's fine, Mom. You don't need to read this. It's perfectly fine. You can pretend this book doesn't exist.
Right, exactly.
Cool.
Your mom asked, what do you know about that? I don't know.
Don't be
I
in
know
that way,
nothing.
Mom.
The stork dropped my kids off. That's how you got your grandkids. The stork. The same reason I got here.
That's just to be like one day, you guys, I open you guys basket. Like, I was like, no, I'm gonna take care of you guys as we are. That's the thing I'm like, listen, that's really the thing that I don't want to explain details. It's like the Lord just like dropped you guys off one day, and I was like, oh yeah.
That's it.
Like,
That's
here
how
we
it goes.
are.
Kids, if you're listening, if you stumble upon this video, kids on YouTube, the stork drop you off. Ain't no nothing nasty, all right? Y'all need to behave yourself and keep your eyes and your nose in your schoolwork because that's where you need to be. All right? Y'all need to leave that WAP alone and put it down because that ain't for you. That's for the grown folk. I got you. That's the PSA.
So, anything you want to like promote before we end? Anything you want to shout out, talk about?
Well, I will be wrestling Saturday, October 10th. That's right. Wrestling is back. So it's SWF Resurgence. That's taking place at the Bucks Mills Rec Center located in Colts Neck, New Jersey. The doors open at 2 p.m. and there are limited seats available, and you can call 201-539-3588 for more info. And I also want to remind everybody that the Tristen Law Show drops every Wednesday at tristanlawshow.com/LOD or where you find your favorite podcast. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Real Big Tris, and you can also follow and find the Tristen Law Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by typing in Tristen Show. That's right. That's my podcast. Shout it out. Listen, follow, like, subscribe. Give me 5 stars. You know, give me 6 if you can. You don't give me 5, but give me 6. Let me know what you think. And yeah, it was so fun hanging out with you.
Yes, this is such a fun episode. Like I laughed way more than I was trying to keep my laugh. It was like I'm on camera and everything. It's so fun. It's really enjoyed this episode. And everybody, I will have all his links in the description when this episode is live. So it's click in and subscribe and all that stuff. Because we need support. Gotta support our fellow people.
That's right.
But
edit this
seriously.
part out. It's going to be a jump cut. And everybody's going to be like, what happened? He was just here, and now he's here.
But thank you so much for hanging with me today. This is like super awesome. Super dope individual.
Well, I hope you have me back. I can't wait till you come back. And if you ever want to have a video where we just talk about the super kick or whatever dumb things in wrestling, I'll
It's gonna be like how I rant when I rant about like Shane Baszler and Brock Lesnar. I always go like these rants when I do my wrestling review show. I'm like, don't do that because I'm about to rant, and then they go, oh my god, here she goes, and I just start ranting. So that's gonna be about to listen, guys. 10 reasons why you should not trust me. Put your angry emojis. But you guys, thank you for joining me, Tristen. Check his wrestling out, check his podcast out. It was a pleasure chatting with you today. It's a really, really fun episode. And I will catch you guys later, guys. Bye.